is on my end. People keep calling me and texting me, and I don't want to be everybody's like, get better hair. I'm on my data, so yeah.
Oh, sure.
Am I scared of the truth? That's funny. All right, so we're talking about communism. So continue.
Okay, so basically, I think that capitalism has a lot of really existentially dangerous and inherent issues. For example, we have the tendency of the rate of profit to fall. We have crippling imperialistic conflict. We have the issue of ecological decay. We have automation, and all of these things. And I think these are issues which are inherent to the existence of capitalism.
Did you say automation?
Mm-hmm.
What device are you on right now?
iPhone.
iPhone. Where did you eat lunch yesterday?
I don't remember.
When was the last time
home.
When was the last time you ate out?
I don't do it much. I can't remember.
Have you ever been to a movie?
Yeah.
What was the name of the theater?
I don't even remember, dog. What point are you trying to make? That what do you got
in your ear there?
Headphones. Is the point you're trying to make that technology is like really good and this comes about through automation?
That and capitalism, you know.
Yeah, but capitalism isn't innovation isn't inherent to capitalism. I mean, a Harvard Business Review study recently found that innovations which are given away are increasingly competing with nonprofit innovations or for-profit patent-protected innovations in many parts of the economy. The USSR, despite having no profit motive, innovated extremely fast.
Is that why they lost the moon race?
Huh?
Is that why they lost their moon race? Because they
the Soviet Union started out as a third world nation, whereas the U.S. during the same time period was a extremely prosperous first world nation. So the fact that they were even competing to get on the moon at relatively the same time, despite starting out in such radically different positions, just proves my point that communism, or not, this USSR wasn't communism, I'd like to clarify, but that innovation can happen extremely fast without.
They started out as a third world nation?
Yeah.
That's absolutely 100% false.
No, it's not. The Russia before the 1917 revolution and so on was by all means a third world nation with very low literacy.
Did you just say 1917? Did you just say 1917?
What?
There were no first
when
world
the revolution
happened.
happened.
1917. There were zero.
What? No. What I'm saying is that the U.S. was very much more prosperous than the USSR, but they ended up reaching by the end of it.
Capitalism.
The USSR.
All right. Have you ever traveled out? I don't know, east?
Not really.
What's the main difference between the innovation in China and the innovation in Japan?
Hold on, I'll be right back. Hold on, I'm busy right now. I'll be right back. Sorry, just had to tell my stupid dad that I'm busy. Anyways, what were we saying?
I said, what is the main difference between China and Japan?
The main difference between China and Japan, I don't know. There's a few. I don't know what you're getting at.
Innovation.
Okay.
Or let's do something even simpler. What about North and South Korea?
North Korea is not a socialist nation. North Korea has a majority private economy, which by definition isn't capitalism, so that's not a valid argument you can bring up. And my point is that
private economy? You mean private companies?
I mean, there's market mechanisms in North Korea.
Name three.
I'm not going to name 3 companies in North Korea, dude. I don't keep up.
Name
but I know
3
it's
private companies in North Korea.
That's a dumb semantic argument.
Can you
say something substantive?
I can name 10 in South Korea. Name 3 private companies in North Korea.
No, because that's an irrelevant point. Can you tell me how that's relevant?
Name a product. Name one product. Name one product that we use in America that comes from North Korea.
What?
Name one product.
We have massive embargoes on North Korea and fucking
name one product that any country in the world. Name one product that any country in the world uses.
Dude, the reason that our North Korea's economy is so terrible is because it's an isolated economy with crippling sanctions from all around the world. Now, can we stop arguing about North Korea? Because I already told you that North Korea by no means meets the criteria for a socialist country. So you're completely running off of a premise.
We were not arguing about
premise that I reject.
We were not arguing about socialism. You said
what are we arguing about?
Communism.
Oh,
and
sure.
North Korea is 100%
they're very similar. I mean, Marx
country.
used what? How is North Korea a communist country? First of all, there is no communist countries because Marx inherently defined communism as an international epoch. So you saying that it was a communist country just shows that you don't understand what communism is at all, and are basing your whole entire argument off of completely incoherent strawmans. Communism abolishes commodity production.
Did you say incoherent strawmans?
Yeah, you're basing your argument off of a... You're arguing off of a straw man.
Incoherent straw man is not a thing. Okay? So incoherent means there is no coherency in the argument.
Hey,
in order for the straw man to be a straw man, it has to be coherent.
I'm not gonna argue
so to say incoherent straw man in and of itself...
Joel, can you get on topic, or have you run out of arguments?
Have I run out of arguments?
Yeah, because you have not
responded to one of my points.
Okay, you want me to okay. Actually, I have, but you want me to address innovation directly in detail? I will. Let's look at innovation. So, one, Harvard Business Review study found that innovations which are given away increasingly compete with for-profit, patent-protected innovation in many parts of the economy. The overall conclusion of the study was that we don't need a profit motive to innovate. Two, while profit motive is one incentive for innovation under capitalist society, it's an incentive which currently suppresses other incentives. For example, care for the community or innovating for personal development.
All right, let me stop you right there.
Let me stop you right there. Go ahead.
You just said care for the community.
Sure.
So does communism care for the community better than capitalism?
Absolutely, because the alienation which is specific to the capitalist mode of production erodes under communism.
What about charitable giving?
Yeah, that's the whole basis of communism is mutual aid and distribution based on need. So I don't really see what you're getting at. Except implemented, and also everyone is poor. Everyone is equal when everyone has nothing. Okay, what?
I want you to give me an example of a form of communism where everyone lived in a $350,000 house, drove a late model car, and was able to have food on the table every night.
Well, I can't argue that because I don't think there have been any communist nations. Again, communism is an inherently international epoch, which we haven't reached yet, so I can't appeal to past examples of communism to make my point. However, you're the one making the positive claim, so the burden is on you to prove that we wouldn't be under communism. And also, you completely avoided the point.
No one's ever flapped their arms hard enough to fly to the moon yet either. So until that happens, you can't
explain how that's relevant?
About why you can't flap your arms hard enough to fly to the moon.
Hey, Joel, you know how we're
maybe the reason it's never been tried, according to you, is because it won't work. People have tried forms of it that have definitely not worked. That is not up for discussion.
Okay.
And communism, as it has been implemented as a political system in the entire universe, has failed everywhere that it has been tried.
Holy shit, dude. Okay. First of all, so when capitalism emerged out of feudalism, as well as when feudalism emerged out of slave society, there were several examples of feudal societies which were attempted, which failed, which went in terrible directions before it emerged as the predominant system. Similarly, there were several examples of capitalism as it was emerging out of feudalism, which became the predominant and which went in terrible directions and which collapsed before it became the predominant system. So if you're going to use this argument of like, oh, well, it hasn't worked before, I could go back to a point in time in feudal society and say the same thing about capitalism, yet we're living under it right now. So clearly that's not a very valid argument. I'd also like to bring up the point that you didn't address anything I said about innovation at all. You just gish-galloped, shifted and pivoted very hard and talked about, well, communism has never worked, and didn't actually address any of my arguments. So one, you pivoted, and two, the argument is based on completely
your argument is that communism has never been tried. My argument is that
no, it's that
communism has been tried and it's never worked. You still have not given me an
Okay.
example of where it
If
has worked.
initial, no. I already explained to you, Joel. And if you're not going to listen to me, I'm not going to keep talking to you. But I already explained to you that if initial failure meant unworkability, we wouldn't live under capitalism right now. Because guess what? There were several examples of capitalist societies which as it was emerging out of feudalism, which failed and went in terrible directions before it became the predominant
Give
system.
me one.
The same thing goes with feudalism. The same thing
Give
goes
me
with
one.
slave society. This is
Give
how
me an example of capitalism failing.
well, for example, capitalism, when it was first emerging out of feudalism, failed in, I believe it was Costa Rica. In this, I mean, I can link you an
Capitalism failed
entire
in Costa
list.
Rica. How did it fail?
Initially, no. It was
So
reestablished,
when a
but
system fails, either all the people die or everybody ends up in some very violent war and all the people die. So pretty much for a fail, all the people need to die.
What? What are you talking about, dude? That's not the.
Hello, hello. I am so sorry, guys. I hate breaking up lives, but everyone decides that they're going to call me at the worst possible time, so I genuinely apologize. I do genuinely apologize, and I still appreciate all of you still tuning in. All right. Let's see here. I need to prepare. That's funny. Well, if you say so. I'm sorry, guys. We're waiting for him to come back. And he's not. Oh, there he is. Okay.
All right. Fourth time's the charm.
Okay, epic. All right. So where were we? Oh, right.
We were kind of topic hopping a little bit, but we were on whether or not communism has ever truly been tried.
Whether or not communism has ever truly been tried. Okay. So, if we're talking about whether or not it's been tried, I think that there was a rather large international revolutionary wave around the World War I and the Great Depression, of course. And I think these largely failed because of things like opportunism. For example, in the U.S., the revolutionary potential was largely squandered because of concessions from the bourgeoisie. And the CIA was ushered in to break up communist parties, etc. However, I think with better organizational structures and more theoretical foundation, if another wave of revolutionary potential were to occur, I think that that this is something that could work. You're appealing to past communist nations such as the USSR and China. I think that the reason these places
And current
failed was
communist
because
nations like Venezuela.
Sure. Well, these weren't communist nations because, for example, Venezuela's 70% of Venezuela's GDP is private sector. 80% of their labor is from it takes place under the private sector. They still have generalized commodity production. Therefore, by Marx's definition and by any serious communist definition, Venezuela is not communist. And so,
Can you pause right there?
And even if it
Can you pause real quick? Can you pause real quick? So, if we believe, so I believe communism doesn't work, okay? So I believe a little communism or a lot of communism, doesn't matter. Communism is bad, okay?
Well, there can't be a little communism.
Yeah, there can.
No, because communism is an international epoch.
When the government takes the government takes over factors of production, the more government takes over the factors of production, the more socialist a country becomes, the more the more problems arise. So
That's not true though, because
so
that's not how
wait,
Marx
wait,
defined communism. That's not how
hang
anybody
on, hang on,
defines
hang on.
communism.
So socialism, which is essentially what we're discussing communism and socialism, but socialism as an
Sure.
ideology is immoral and it is extremely problematic in many ways. So
How
if I
so?
believe that socialism and or communism is bad, would I want a little bit of socialism in my country or none at all? So
What do
I
you mean
guess
a little?
so. Let me ask you this: if you're drinking water, okay,
Hmm.
if you're drinking a glass of water, do you want one little tiny bit of rat feces in the water, or do you want none at all?
Maybe a little bit.
Why?
I haven't tried it before. It could be something that's promising.
Okay, let's use a different example. Okay, there's water, and you're putting
No,
arsenic in the
but
water.
but I,
Do
I
you want
get the point
one
you're.
drop of arsenic in the water, or do you want no drops of arsenic in your water?
No, sure. So I get the point that you're trying
So,
to
so
make is that
if socialism is a poisonous ideology that kills people, do we want a little bit of socialism, or do we want none at all?
sure, but for one thing, I don't think you can have a little bit of socialism because I think socialism, although it's been appropriated by people like Bernie Sanders to mean, oh, it's when the government does stuff. That's not what socialism is at all. Socialism is an epoch. Socialism is the abolition of commodity production, which no countries have done. It's international, which has never been done before, and so. I reject that there can be a little communism. I think that communism is an epoch. And second of all, you'd have to prove, in order to make this argument, that socialism is poison, which, I mean, you really haven't done. What's bad about socialism? Why is it poison?
Usually, things that kill people are poison.
Why does socialism lead to killing people?
I don't know. I'm not
Are
a
you talking about the
socialist.
revolution? Are you talking about how the
I'm talking
revolution?
about the fact that socialism always leads to starvation, for one, and people die when they're starved to death.
Yeah, but again, the USSR had, even if I were to take your premise that socialism
You
has
also have to
been,
kill people that
sure.
differentiate from your political ideology because if you don't kill them, they'll convince everyone else of how bad your political ideology is.
Sure. So two things. So for one, even if I were to take your premise that these past nations were socialist, which they weren't, because I've already laid out the criteria, which is also Marx's criteria, and explained how these countries don't meet this criteria, and no country has. And second of all, even if I were to grant you this premise that these nations were socialist, you still can't make the argument that, oh, it starves people, because according to CIA data, the USSR had equal daily calorie intake to the US and a more healthy diet. So you can't really make
So I didn't kick him off. I don't know where he went. Um, hopefully he'll come back because what he was saying was absolutely ridiculous. But I want to let him continue to say. What's your name?
Madison.
Madison. Hi, Madison. How are you doing
Hi.
today?
I'm doing very good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. What are your thoughts on the most recent exchange?
Well, I think he didn't know who he was talking about. And my dad even has it on his shirt like that socialism, I think, always ends in starvation and genocide or something.
Yeah,
I think.
100 million people have been dead in 100 years from socialism, and it's not. He says it's never truly been tried, but it has truly been tried, and it has failed
Yeah,
every single time.
it really has.
And I don't
His
think anyone that's ever lived under socialism or communism would say, "Yes, this was a great political ideology. Let's try it again."
Yeah, yeah.
I think
It,
sometimes kids live in a bubble because they study and idolize individuals who
yeah.
who have committed atrocities, beyond, almost beyond comprehension, and they go, "Oh, well, see, I like this idea and I like this idea. Let's put them together and say this was a good idea." No, it's not a good
Yeah.
idea, and no one with any sense thinks that it is.
Yeah, his ideology was very wrong and stupid, and he obviously had no idea what he was talking about.
I would, I would have to second that. All right, well, thanks for hopping on. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening.
You too.
Interim president. If you're wondering why we're bringing on people with opposing viewpoints, it's because they have opposing viewpoints. Because, I mean, it would be... Okay, so secondly, this guy, geopolitical forecaster, just asked to be put on the live, and I added him, and he declined. So, okay, here's Mouthy back again.
Oh, hey, I'm not sure what happened.
Did you
Kick
lose
me?
your internet connection or something?
I don't think so. I thought I got kicked.
You did not get kicked. Or if you did get kicked, it wasn't by me.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Because if you got kicked, why would I let you back on?
okay. Yeah,
Four
yeah, I believe
times,
you.
by the
I
way.
believe you.
4 times.
Yeah.
4 times. Yeah.
Cool. So where were we? Talking about
We were,
communism.
we were talking about communism, and you keep using a term epoch. Now, let's imagine I'm completely ignorant because I am of this term.
Yeah.
Explain that term.
So epoch is basically just used to refer to the stage of society. And so in the Marxist definition, epochs are like defined by economic mode of production. So for example, capitalism is an epoch. We live in the capitalist epoch right now. Before capitalism, there was the feudalist epoch. And before feudalism, we lived under this epoch of like slave society, etc. So that's basically how we define epoch. It's just the stage of development of society based on the economic mode of production.
Okay. So do you decline, do you deny that 100 million people have died at the hands of socialism and or communism in the last 100 years?
Yes, I do deny that. Yeah.
Why?
Because I don't think any of these nations were socialist.
So what killed those people?
State capitalism.
Capitalism.
State capitalism.
State
capitalism. Yeah, that's how I would define the USSR in China, because I believe, and Marxists believe, that capitalism is defined by the existence of generalized commodity production, production for exchange value, the existence of the capitalist law of value, and communism is inherently the abolition of these things. And I don't think
you know what else communism is the abolition of?
Sure, go.
Religion.
Okay. I mean, can you prove that that's a bad thing? Because according to the World Happiness Index, less religious societies are no less prosperous than more religious societies.
So name a atheistic society. Name one.
Disproportionately secular society, I can name a few. For example, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland, and these are disproportionately secular societies. And according to the World Happiness Index, according to the HDI scale, more secular societies are no less prosperous than less religious societies, or more religious societies.
So is that 60% income tax part of their success?
I don't know. I don't really have a stake in arguing what's effective in the context of bourgeois economics. But I think we're talking about secularism and religion.
All those countries are also overwhelmingly white. Does that mean white people are happier than black people?
What?
Is happiness racist?
I don't think that that's based on their... In order for that to be a racist statement, it would have to be based on their race, which I don't think it is.
Well, all the countries you named are in the same area of Northern Europe, Eastern...
Are you implying that there's not black people in Norwegian countries? Because
there actually aren't that many. They're actually the whitest places on Earth.
In order for that to be a racist statement, though, I would have to be basing this off race, which I'm not. I mean, this is completely independent of race. And I mean, and also, I'd like to point out that communism isn't inherently the abolition of religion. I mean,
it is absolutely the... Are you ignorant of what happens every time communism is implemented to people that are religious?
I think you're ignorant of the definition of communism.
Stalin killed more Jews than Hitler.
How is that related to religion?
Because the Jews are a religion?
Okay, and how is it?
Christians are persecuted in every communist country, disproportionate to every other every other religion.
Well, no, there's no communist countries. I already explained that communism is an
So,
international.
first of all, that it's nice that you keep saying that, but it doesn't make it any more true. There
Well, I
absolutely
mean,
are
it does,
communist
because this was
countries.
the criteria that
There are
Marx
communist
himself
countries.
laid out.
They identify as communist countries.
It doesn't matter what they identify as. We're working off of the Marxian definition, or at least I am.
No, we're not.
What?
We're working off of the dictionary definition, and they are dictionary definition.
Can you read me the dictionary
Socialist.
definition?
Actually, I'll have a friend do it for you. Hey, Google, define socialism.
Here's the definition of socialism. An economic theory of social organization which is the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be opened or regulated by the community.
Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear it at all.
It said that the means of production are controlled by the government.
The government? Because Marx
Yes.
defines socialism as not having a government.
Well, no government is called anarchy, and an anarchy is not communism. But
Well, communism is inherently stateless. I mean, Marx defined communism. I mean, if you read any of Marx or any of Engels or any of even Lenin, Marx, Engels, and Lenin said that the state arises out of the irreconcilability of class conflict, and therefore, because communism abolishes classes, it also abolishes state, because state...
it actually doesn't. Did you know that there were people that were very wealthy under communism?
What?
There were very wealthy people under communism.
No, there weren't, because again, communism has
They
an
absolutely were very wealthy. And do you
this
know
is a
why they were
really
very wealthy?
circular
You
argument.
know why they were very wealthy?
This
Because
is
they
a-
were in politics.
This is a super circular argument, though, because you're using the claim that states weren't abolished under communism to say that, therefore, these
States
places
weren't
were-
abolished under communism.
Well, you're using the argument that, well, look, classes still existed under communism, which
They did.
assumes that communism has existed, which I disagree with. Like, your argument is inherently circular. You know what I mean? Like,
Communism did.
a mode of production.
Communism has existed. Communism has killed 100 million people.
No. You're not listening, though, because according to Marx, according to Lenin, according to Engels, all of the most prominent communist intellectuals ever, communism is inherently an international epoch where the state is abolished, where class is abolished, and none of these, where a generalized commodity production, the capitalist law of value is abolished, none of these places have ever met this criteria. Like, you've yet to prove how any of these countries meet the criteria, which were established by real communist intellectuals such as Marx, Engels, and others. Like, and also, I'd like to point out that, even if your premise that communism has been tried was true, this still doesn't make your argument, because again, when capitalism emerged out of feudal society, there are many examples where it initially failed before it eventually succeeded and became the predominant system. The same is true as when feudalism emerged out of slave society, etc. So, like, this is just how epochs naturally develop. If initial failure meant a lack of workability of the system, then we wouldn't be living under capitalism right now. Feudal society would have never developed out of slave society. But clearly, that these things do happen, even though there is initial failure. These epochs still do develop out of each other. So clearly, even if the premise that communism has failed were true, this wouldn't be a valid argument. Like, this is because all you've proved is that communism has followed the same developmental path as every other epoch.
Except capitalism.
That's not true, though. I'm basing my claim that capitalism failed in initial implementation off of a economic paper or a historical analysis.
Where did capitalism fail?
What?
Where did capitalism fail?
I can't name all the countries. I think
you can't name any of the countries because it didn't fail.
No. I'm basing this claim off of a historical analysis paper by PhD economist Richard Wolff, which I can send to you. I mean, I don't know the specific names of the civilizations. I know one of them was where Costa Rica is now, but yeah, this is an academically verified, peer-reviewed paper which reached this conclusion, which I'm citing. So your argument of like, haha, well, you can't name a specific one of these civilizations, like that doesn't really mean anything. I mean, it's just a semantic technicality argument.
So presenting facts for why I believe a certain way is a semantic technicality argument.
No, saying that my argument that capitalism failed in initial implementation.
Do you know what semantics are?
Yeah, semantics are like no. Listen, dude.
Give me an example of semantics.
I'm not going to give you an example of semantics because that's not relevant to the argument.
No, give me an example.
You are
keep
completely trailing off,
you keep
dude.
using the term. Give me an example.
Address
What
my
are semantics? Give me an example of semantics.
It's word games, dog. You're playing word games. You're saying, look, you can't
Semantics does not mean word games.
Holy shit, dude. This isn't the argument. You're not.
Semantics is over literalization. So, like, if somebody said, "Oh, you're touching me," you say, "I'm not touching you. I'm touching your shirt." That's semantics. Okay. None of the arguments that I have presented have been semantics in any way, shape, or form. You're just saying that you win the argument. That you don't have any.
You win the argument over what semantics mean. Can we get back to communism now? Because you just pivoted hard.
No, I was just giving an example of why you keep using a term to discredit my facts.
Cool.
Isn't discredited.
Can you make an argument?
I've made an argument. I've made several.
You've made an argument which I've explained according to.
You made the argument that communism has never been tried. I proved to you that it has been tried and that it's failed. Then you made the argument that capitalism failed. You failed to prove how capitalism failed.
No. I cited you a historical peer-reviewed analysis.
I listened to you, and everyone can attest that I listened to you for far longer than you have listened to me.
Okay, go ahead.
Listen to me. Listen to me. Then you made the argument that I was using semantics, which you didn't understand what semantics were because you couldn't explain it. So then I explained to you what semantics were and that I wasn't using semantics. So you have lost your three major arguments.
What are you talking about, dude?
Already.
Okay.
And we're not even halfway through it.
Let's go through these hilarious claims you just made. One, I failed to prove. You've proved that communism works. Or that communism has
wrong.
Been
I would
tried.
never prove that communism works because it
Yeah,
doesn't.
I get you. So you've said let's go through your claims. One, you claimed that communism has been tried. You haven't claimed that communism has been tried. I explained
I absolutely have claimed that communism has been tried. And I've even said that I've claimed that communism has been tried.
No. Yes, you said that your three claims of the arguments you've won are one, you've proved that communism has been tried. You've not proved this. Because I explained to you that by the Marxian definition, by Engels' definition, by Lenin's definition, by the definition of every prominent Marxist intellectual, communism intellectually abolishes commodity production, abolishes class, abolishes the state.
Did you just say by every communist intellectual that my definition of communism is wrong?
Yeah, of every prominent Marxist.
If I believe that the ideology is wrong, why would I care what the intellectuals who adhere to the ideology say? That's like me saying, you know what? No. That's like me saying, wait a minute. That's like me saying, according to serial killers, murder is okay. Well, of course they're going to say it's okay. They're serial killers.
No. Because you're trying to critique something you don't understand, which you don't understand.
I understand 100 million people dead in 100 years. What? And if you don't understand that, maybe you should go back to middle school and study history.
What? Again, you failed to prove that these countries are communist. Because again, according to every prominent Marxist intellectual, these countries, or communism is inherently an international epoch which abolishes commodity production, which abolishes the state, etc. You can say, well, I don't even like these intellectuals, so why should I follow their definitions? Well, you have to follow their definitions if you're going to critique it, because if you don't, then you're critiquing something that you don't know what it means, which is very evident from the talking points you're attempting to make. So yeah, I think that this is very relevant.
I'm not attempting to make talking points. I'm stating facts.
No.
100 million people have been dead in 100 years from communism. That is not up for debate.
But
that is not up for debate.
According to the Marxian definition of communism, none of these.
So what killed the 100 million people then? Was it capitalism?
I already explained to you. It's state capitalism. Yeah, because
state
these
capitalism.
Still had
state capitalism doesn't make any sense. So we'll go with communism.
That's a black and white fallacy, first of all. So first of all, you're saying if
black and white fallacy is not a fallacy. There is no such thing as a black and white fallacy.
Okay, no.
It is not a logical fallacy.
Listen to me, Joel.
It could be a red herring.
Joel.
It could be a slippery slope fallacy.
Joel.
There are many fallacies, but black and white is not one of them.
Joel, first of all, you're just lying, dude. That's absolutely
black and white is not a fallacy.
Yes, it is, dude. It's when you're okay. You're establishing a false dichotomy. You're
Okay.
saying
False
you're
dichotomy.
saying either
False
it's
dichotomy is a logical fallacy. Black and
it's
white
the
is not
same
a
fallacy,
logical
dude. It's a different
It is
word for
not
the same
the same
fallacy.
fallacy.
Okay,
You just pulled that out your behind.
No, I didn't.
Try again.
I will send you the. I will send you. I will
You
send you
could
the
send me.
definition of the
You
logical
could
fallacy.
send me. You could send me a documentary on how communism is a wonderful utopia, and it would not prove that communism has not killed 100 million people in 100 years.
Hold on.
No political ideology has been as harmful to the universe as communism. You can truly say it's never been tried all you want, but the millions of people that have died would probably disagree with you.
Do you see these like articles explaining what a black and white fallacy is?
Did you type black and white fallacy into Google?
Yes.
Well, it's reversed, so no, I can't see it.
Oh. Well, that's good. Okay. A black and white fallacy occurs in arguments that have disjunctive premise that is one that gives alternatives when one or more alternatives is incorrectly omitted. So that's exactly what you did. You said either it's state capitalism or it's communism. That's a false dichotomy because there's many more economic ideologies than capitalism or communism, which you
Socialism and or communism
socialism.
has been tried. It has failed. And you arguing for it like it's this, I don't know, utopian, beautiful thing that we should all be is equivalent to a neo-Nazi saying, well, what Hitler wanted to do wasn't that bad. Fascism is not that bad. Okay?
So first of all, I've explained that by the Marxian definition of communism, none of these places have reached communism. Second of all, I've explained that even if it were true that they did and it failed, even if they did fail,
it's not an even if. They fail. That's not up for discussion, buddy. They fail.
No.
Let's put that out of the way. Hundreds of millions of people died. It failed. Period.
Joel, listen to me. Even if I were to grant you that these were legitimately communist nations, which you failed to prove because by the Marxian definition,
okay. Let's hypothetically agree with you for a second. This is hypothetical.
Okay.
Why has communism never truly been tried?
I didn't say it hasn't necessarily been tried.
Yeah, you did.
Succeeded.
You said all of the examples that I gave were wrong. So you said it hasn't been tried.
I said earlier in the debate that there were waves of international revolutionary potential which could have led to a socialist or communist revolution, but they didn't because they fell due to opportunism, etc. The reason
has communism been tried? Has communism been tried?
What do you mean by tried?
Has communism been tried?
What do you mean by tried?
Have people tried the political system of communism? Have people given it a chance?
Has there been chance? Okay. If you're asking, has there been situations in which people have attempted to achieve communism? Yes.
And how did it work out for them?
The revolution failed because of opportunism and among other things.
It failed because of opportunism.
Yes. Like,
so basically, people were greedy. So communism failed.
Communism failed because of a lack of theoretical development and organizational structure in the communist parties, such as in the U.S., for example, where the communist parties were destroyed by FDR's New Deal, which led to the squandering of revolutionary potential because it acted as a concession to because it acted as a concession which nullified the class consciousness and the revolutionary potential of the people. So this isn't really an argument. And also, even if I were to grant you,
every single time I make an argument that you don't have an answer for, you say this isn't really an argument. You're introducing red herrings, and you don't know what you're talking about. That has been your argument every time. Do you know what it's called when you introduce something else that is not relevant to the argument? To deflect from the argument? That is, Mr. I know all the definitions. That is a red herring. And guess what that's called? A logical fallacy. So maybe you should take your little magnifying glass and become a fallacy detective and detect the fallacies within your own arguments before you try to accuse other people of using them.
Joel,
because you have used your own fallacy no fewer than 8 times.
Joel, I just directly addressed your argument. I am now explaining that even if your argument were correct and I were to grant you the premise that you're trying to prove, you still can extrapolate this to an argument against communism.
Yes, I can. Communism has been tried and it has failed. Period.
Okay. Okay.
How old are you?
Let me parse through a few
How old
things.
are you? How old are
I'm
you?
16.
Have you
Let
ever
me
paid
parse-
taxes?
Let me parse through a few.
Have you ever
a few
paid
things.
taxes?
Joel, I'm
Have
not
you paid
addressing.
taxes?
I'm not addressing comments that are arguments.
Have you ever paid taxes?
Let me parse through a few things, Joel.
Have you ever
Stop.
paid taxes?
Joel,
Have you ever
please.
paid taxes?
Hey, Joel.
Have you ever held
you-
a job? Have you ever
This
held a
isn't-
job?
Joel, this
I'm going to
isn't an
explain to you why communism doesn't work. Have you ever held a job?
Joel, I'm not making. No, I'm not. Okay, let's say yes.
Have you ever had a job?
Sure. Yes.
And did you get paid?
Yes.
And were you happy with the pay that you received?
No.
Why?
Because communism inherently, because capitalism inherently exploits workers through the extraction of surplus value.
So you were not happy with the payment that you received?
Nobody should be, because they're receiving less than they're producing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So do you think
now
you would have gotten paid more or less under communism?
I wouldn't be paid under communism, because communism abolished the concept of currency.
Exactly.
What?
Exactly. You wouldn't have been paid at all. So it's actually been studied. When people do not have an incentive to work, guess what they don't do?
Okay.
They don't work.
Then can you explain the fact that, okay, so a few things. So now you've pivoted hard. You've moved away from the communism hasn't worked argument to the people have no incentive to work under communism. So this was a hard pivot, which, I explained how.
No, it's not. It's very in line with what I'm explaining to you. I was trying to bring it down to a personal level so that you could understand that people don't want to not be paid for their work. Nobody wants to work for free. We had a group of people that used to do that. What were they called again? Oh, that's right. Slaves. That's what working for free is.
Oh my God, dude.
Slavery.
Bro. Okay. So, first of all, I just want to explain that this is a hard pivot because
No, it's not. It's not a hard pivot. How are you explain to me how working for free is not slavery?
What? Working for free isn't slavery? Because it's voluntary? I mean, Karl Marx inherently said that in the Critique of Gotha program that all work under socialism is inherently voluntary. How is that slavery?
That's voluntary, all right. If you don't do it, you get killed.
What?
Sounds pretty voluntary to me.
What are you basing the premise?
Socialism has been tried in the form of slavery. Because the people were slaves, right? Working for free is slavery. I don't know if you didn't know that. It's not voluntary. Okay?
Bro.
There was no, if you want to work here, you can. Everyone was assigned where they had to work, and they had to work there. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you think that those people voluntarily chose for the jobs that they chose, that wouldn't work even if you wanted it to, because people would voluntarily choose jobs that were easier. So if under communism you had a librarian and you had somebody that, I don't know, pumped poop out of tank to do that, you cannot tell me that that's voluntary.
Okay. So can I parse through a few arguments here? So, a few things. So for one, you can't
What was the name of the job that you held?
No, I'm going
to
address your arguments. No,
what was your title?
No. I'm addressing your arguments. So
what was your title?
First of all, Joel, you say communism is slavery because people are working for free because they're not being paid for their work. Well, slavery is inherently an involuntary transaction, and all work under socialism is voluntary. You say, well, no, work under socialism was not voluntary, but you cannot base this off of
That's actually false.
You can't,
because people can come to the United States and voluntarily work for free, right?
No.
But if they come to the United States and they're voluntarily working for free and they're not paid, if I'm making money off of their labor, that is slavery and it's illegal.
What? No, listen to me, dude. Listen to me. Slavery is an involuntary transaction. Socialism is inherently voluntary. Work under socialism is inherently voluntary.
So you're saying that only people that want to work under socialism?
Yes.
You believe that with all your heart?
Yes, this is according to Marx.
Okay. This is not
according to Lenin. This is according to Engels. This isn't according to me.
Because when socialism is implemented, everyone works, and they are forced to do so under penalty of prison or death.
What?
Go
No.
to North Korea and tell me those people are all working voluntarily.
North Korea isn't communist. Communist inherently abolishes commodity production as an international
North
epoch.
Korea is communist, bro.
Can you justify that statement? What's communism?
When the government controls factors of the means of production.
Dude, there's no government under communism. There's no government. Dude, according to Marx, according to Engels, according to Lenin, according to all Marxist theorists, there is no state, there's no government under communism.
So you're saying a system where there is no government would be best, and that would work.
Well, yeah, communism, it has no government.
All right. Don't say communism because we're so far beyond that. So no government, so anarchy.
Well, no, communism has no government.
So anarchy is what will work.
I mean, if you define anarchy as having no government, then communism is inherently
no government.
anarchist.
No government. Okay. Okay. No government, right? Because when there's nobody to enforce any laws, people are just naturally good, right?
What? I mean, the society or society at large can enforce standards.
And how does that work?
I mean, for example, there have been societies before where the people rotate. Essentially, some people on some days will enforce certain standards. If somebody defies standards or like kills someone, then society as a whole can collaborate as to how to deal with these people, etc. But this doesn't necessitate a government. I mean, a state is inherently the mechanism through which one class exerts its will over the another.
So the people
class.
govern. So the people govern.
What?
So the people rule.
No. The Marxist definition of state is the mechanism through which one class exerts its will over another state. And of course, the state and government aren't necessarily the same thing, but the people naturally, organically forming to for certain standards is not inherently a government.
So the people coming together to make rules and force other people to follow the rules is not the government.
No, I didn't say that they'd make rules necessarily, but
so no rules.
What I'm saying is that society organically
just sit by the fire and smoke a peace pipe and sing Kumbaya because everybody loves each other now. Under communism.
That's not an argument.
No, that's what you're arguing for. That doesn't work.
Oh, I had no idea. That's interesting.
You do realize that people are inherently evil, right?
No, I don't think. I think you're appealing to a static human nature, which doesn't exist. I mean, if you look at modern scientific studies, humans have extremely contradictory capacities. So, for example, humans have great capacity for altruism, and humans have great capacity for selfishness. And the extent to which these different capacities of human nature are actualized are heavily dependent on social influence. What did you say?
This is very important. You need to pay attention. Okay?
What?
I have lived through 2 natural disasters.
Okay.
And when natural disasters occur, the government's ability to monitor illegal activity is greatly hampered. Okay?
Okay.
Do you know what people do when that occurs?
What do people do?
They steal.
They steal because of the capitalist mode of production's focus on material goods.
They're inherently evil.
Okay. Here's why that argument doesn't make any sense.
Okay, I will stop you right there. It makes perfect sense. Let me ask you something. Well,
no.
You can't answer this because you've never had any kids. But if you had kids, you know there's one thing you don't have to teach your kids how to do. You don't have to teach them how to do evil. You do have to teach them how to do good. If kids were inherently good, you would have to teach them how to do evil. And you wouldn't have to teach them how to do good. But you have to teach them how to do good because they're inherently evil. Okay? Nobody teaches a kid to scream and whine to get what they want.
Joel, listen to me, please.
You teach a kid to sit quietly and wait till they're spoken to. You teach a kid to do their chores. You teach a kid to wake up in the morning and make their bed and go about their day and behave themselves. Do you know why? Because people are inherently evil, and they have to be trained to be good.
Joel, please, can you
They
please
also have
understand?
to have incentives to be good, like punishment. We cannot
Joel,
have some happy utopia where everybody loves each other because people
oh
are
my God,
evil.
no, Joel, listen to me. Here's why this
I
doesn't make
thought you
any
didn't believe in
sense.
God.
Joel,
I thought you didn't
listen to
believe in
me.
God. I thought you didn't believe in God.
I don't.
So
Please.
then why did you just say, oh my God?
Oh my God, Joel.
Why did you
Please
say it
listen
again?
to me. No,
Why
Joel,
would you use a
Joel,
term you
shut
don't
up,
believe in?
please. Joel, be quiet,
Flat
please.
Earth.
Listen to me. Joel, be quiet, please. Listen. Here's why your argument doesn't make any sense in the context of what I'm saying. I'm saying, and this is supported by modern science, that people have many contradictory capacities in their human nature. People have the capacity for altruism. People have the capacity for selfishness. The extent to which these different capacities are actualized are entirely based on social influence. And so you're saying, yes, the people under the capitalist mode of production inherently act in these ways. I'm saying, yes, because the way people act is inherently dependent upon social influence. So under the social influence of capitalism, yes, you would be correct. But my argument, the argument which is supported by modern science, is that how people act is dependent on social influence. So under a different social influence, under a different epoch, such as communism, people would act in inherently different ways because the way in which people act
Yeah,
are
they'd
based
kill each
on
other and
social
starve
influence.
to death.
What?
They'd kill each other and starve to death.
Can you back that premise up? Like, can you
With
give me...
facts? You mean like when they killed each other and starved to death in Russia? When they're
Oh,
killing each other and starving to death in Venezuela? When they killed each other and starved to death in China? When they killed each other and starved to death in North Korea? You mean like that?
none of those
Yeah,
places
I
are
consider that backing it up.
communist, Joel. We've already established this. I've already explained how by the Marxian definition, how the definition of Engels, by the definition of Marx, by the definition of Lenin, none of these places met the criteria for communism. So, like, you're going off of a premise.
Do you have value as a person?
What?
Do you have value as a person?
Value is an abstraction. What do you mean?
Who values you?
I'd like to think my dog.
Is that the only person that values you?
Feels like that sometimes, Joel. Are we going to start a therapy session? I'm down.
You may need it, but your dog is not a person. But
Oh.
who that's a person values you?
I don't know. I like to think you value me.
Who's gonna miss you tomorrow if you're just not there?
You? I think we have a pretty good connection sexually.
Do your parents care about you?
What? Yeah, I'd like to think so.
You'd like to think so.
What?
You like to think so.
Yeah.
Do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I have a few.
Do they care about you?
Probably.
That's nice. Do you care about them?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And if you saw let's say hypothetically you have a little brother, if you saw him running towards the street and you saw a car was coming, what would be your response?
I would probably pull out my camera and yell "World Star."
Is that your honest response?
Yes.
But you were just about to tell me how people were inherently good.
Okay, Joel. Yeah, no, again, my point stands that I think people's how people act is inherently based on I think that how people interact with their environment is very based on their environment, right? This is just basic reality of the object environment relationship. So like, yeah, people you can appeal.
So you're saying that
you keep
people
saying,
you're saying there is no universal standard for right and wrong.
yeah, well, I don't think morals exist really, and that's not
So
my point.
morals don't exist.
No.
Morals
That's
don't
not
exist.
even my argument. That's a completely different argument.
But you said okay, so you don't believe that right and wrong exist.
Okay. I mean, I don't think morals really exist. No.
Do you believe absolute truth exists?
Do I think there is an objective truth?
Yes.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, there has to be, right?
So
I don't
then,
know.
do you believe that there's objectively right and wrong?
I think that right and wrong are constructs which we make up.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay, so what if it's right for me to cut your head off?
Then that's pretty epic.
Do you see why that's a problem? You can't have what's right for someone not also be right for someone else. There is no relative truth. There is only absolute. Okay? With the example that, of course, if you were to say, my name. So my name is Joel. My name is not your name. Do you see what I'm saying? So there are things like that that could be considered relative. But like
Yeah,
when
but
it comes to
there's
moral,
a difference
there
between
is no relative truth.
There's a difference between okay, first of all, my argument literally is not dependent on this premise. I never brought up this premise. Like, this isn't essential to my argument at all.
So you don't,
my
but you
argument
did.
isn't.
No, you
No.
did
My
because you
argument
said
isn't
that
that
you
there
believe
isn't
people are
absolute
inherently good,
truths. My
and then
argument
you
isn't.
proceed to explain to everyone why you are inherently evil.
No. There's no. My argument isn't dependent on objective definitions of good and bad. My argument is dependent on the premise that our human nature, the ways in which we act, the ways in which we interact with society, is entirely based on societal pressures. And therefore, to appeal and say, look, we act this way under capitalism says nothing about how we would act under socialism, because it's an entirely different set of social incentives. It's an entirely different environment, and therefore would have very different and therefore people would interact with it very differently. So to say like we are inherently this way or we are inherently this way is just wrong, because all of science backs up the argument that we have our human nature, as you would call it, has very contradictory capacities, and the extent to which these different capacities are actualized are entirely dependent on different societal pressures and cultural pressures and so on.
If that were true, then we wouldn't have prisons.
No, that's not true, because because my whole entire argument is that we act the way in which we act based on the social environment, based on these social pressures. And so for you to say, well, no, that's not true, because if you look at how we interact with these social pressures, there's prisons, then this is irrelevant to my argument that I'm making, because my argument doesn't necessitate that we don't act a certain way under the certain societal construct. My argument is that under a different societal, structured society, we would act different, because how we act morally is inherently dependent on social pressures.
False. I believe that everyone is aware of what is right and what is wrong, and then they make a conscious decision to do wrong. Because if they weren't, we couldn't ever hold anyone accountable for anything.
Can you back up that premise, though? And plus, that's not even my
Can
argument.
I back up the premise that all people are inherently evil? Or that people make a conscious decision to do wrong?
No, my argument is that there is no inherent human nature, because what you call human nature is incredibly fluid and dependent on different social influences.
There's no such thing as human nature.
What? No,
Did you say there's no such thing as human nature?
Define human nature, and I'll tell you.
What comes naturally to humans?
What do you mean, like?
You probably don't have
physical,
this problem, but most
phenomenon?
people that are your age have a strong desire to procreate with the opposite sex. Okay?
Wait,
that
are
is
you assuming my sexuality, Joel?
I'm assuming no one would want to procreate with you, but I'm sorry. That
You don't
was
want to
rude.
procreate with me?
That's not possible, actually. But if you actually not failed
do you want to look
sex
into
education,
Joel?
you would have known that that's not possible.
No, but we can adopt.
But there are so many other things that you don't understand. But procreation is human nature. A desire to
Joel, stop dodging the question. Do you want to adopt kids or not?
Do I want to personally adopt kids with you?
Yes.
So that you can raise them all to be commies?
Yes.
That is a hard pass.
A pass?
Hard pass. But you know what? In the interest of red herrings, that was a pretty good one.
You've honestly crushed my dreams, Joel. I don't know what to say past this point.
Okay, that's another one. We are way down the path now, aren't we?
You just really hurt my feelings, man.
Well, your feelings are
something special.
I believe in my truth in alternate universe world that you don't have feelings, so I could not have hurt them because it's true for me that you don't have feelings, so they weren't hurt because they're non-existent.
Oh, so truth is relative?
In opposite world, in lunatic town where you live, yes, truth is relative.
I live in lunatic town. Did you just
You
dox me,
believe
Joel?
it? You do? Did I dox?
Joel, you just doxed me. You just told everybody that I live in lunatic town.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you found that out. I don't know why you would say that in front of a live audience, but like that's not cool.
Well, I can see that you have ceased debating, and I am going to conclude this chapter. Thanks for coming on. I do not often end live streams with insults, so I'm going to refrain from all of the things that I'm thinking in my mind right now. Just the fact that you didn't believe that people are inherently evil.
You're imagining me naked, aren't you, Joel?
My mind is blown. That never would ever happen, ever.
That's your truth.
No, that's factual.
Your truth.
There is no universe in which I would ever find you remotely attractive.
I'm sure that's your truth.
You never saw a communist game. Well, enjoy the rest of your month. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Your month is over. Well, enjoy the rest of whatever it is that you do over there in Lunatic Town. I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to allow another one of these interesting individuals on. Let's go with... What's up?
What's up?
Where's your face?
Oh, my face? Here you go. Here I am, bro. I got this for you. This for you.
What does it say?
The best president ever.
Oh, it says "Make America Great Again."
This is my hat.
What country are you in? What country?
I got my Bible. I'm ready to rock. I got Donald up on the top. I'm ready to go. All right. So I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
Iran nuclear deal, good or bad?
You mean the one that Obama made?
Yeah, the only one.
The one where he gave them pallets of cash. It was bad.
Never happened. Yeah, I'll tell you where that money came from. That was frozen Iranian assets. He didn't magically put a bunch of money in a crate, send it out in the middle of the night to Iran. I'd like to see the proof, though, if you have it. Anybody, any source, one.
So you're saying the Iran deal never happened?
No, I'm saying he never sent $200 billion worth of cash in a crate, laughing evilly while it gets sent to Tehran in the middle of the night.
So what you're saying is he unfroze all their assets?
Yeah, frozen Iranian assets. That's why they don't have money right now, why their economy is being crippled, because he froze them again, Trump. This is proof.
Why did he freeze the assets? Why were the assets previously frozen?
Because we have an against Iran for the past 40 years.
Say it again.
Because we've been conducting an isolationist policy against Iran since the Iranian Revolution.
Why is that?
I'm going to give you a history on Iran real quick. 1953, Iran elected Mohammad Mossadegh to be their prime minister. We waged a CIA coup which took him out and replaced a monarch, Reza Pahlavi, who's a tyrannical dictator, with the largest human rights abuses of that age. So we brought him back after the people had already launched a people's revolution to get rid of him. So in 1979, the Iranian Revolution brings the Ayatollah Khamenei to power, which is kept to this day. So what happened was it was an embarrassment to American imperialism. We could know that they would no longer prostitute their oil reserves to us. So
prostitute their oil reserves? Did it ever occur to you where the Middle East got their oil?
Yeah, where do you think?
American companies went there and they dug it up for them so that they now had wonderful oil wells producing them buckets of oil and tons of money. We did not charge them for that. We just kind of put it there and we're like, here you go.
Is that what you think?
Produce some oil. We should have gotten the oil for free because we're the ones that even made it possible for them to extract it. They didn't even have the money to have dug oil wells before we came in there and literally built the Middle East.
It wasn't
And we
America.
essentially funded terrorism that way, but it's
That-
kind of very
You-
sad. But let me ask you something. Do you think it's a good thing that Iran has nuclear weapons?
They don't.
But do you think it would be a good?
I would love to see the proof that they did, because guess what? The nuclear deal prohibited
Do
it.
you want them to
Yeah.
have nuclear weapons?
No,
Why?
because it would further. Okay. Are you aware Israel already has a stockpile of estimated 80 warheads that no one can see?
Which-
No inspectors
which-
have ever seen. We're not allowed to inspect them, but Israel.
Which is perfectly fine
Why?
because they would only use them in self-defense.
Really? Is it okay?
Really?
Is it okay that Saudi Arabia is? Okay, let me read something to you real quick. The Trump administration is seeking to give Saudis nuclear weapons. Is that a good thing? Are you aware of what they're doing in Yemen right now? That we're
I'm
contributing.
aware of what they're doing in Yemen.
We're contributing. Us, America, are funding, arming, and launching planes that are contributing to the biggest famine of biblical proportions in history.
The biggest famine of biblical proportions.
Of biblical proportions. The biggest.
How many
famine.
people live in Yemen?
20 million, 22 million.
So by that
Currently,
number
17
alone,
are starving to death.
how many? 17?
17 out of 22 million are on the brink of starvation. Yemen,
Because of America.
because of our contribution, yes, we are building, arming, and directing coordinates, strike coordinates for these planes that are hitting hospitals, children's hospitals, and a bunch of food supplies.
So we're bombing children's hospitals in Yemen, according to you.
Yes, I will give you, according to me, this is every source on earth. You can look up Yemen right now, and your first headline will be our contribution to the biggest genocide of all time.
What aircraft are being used?
I'm not aware of the specific aircraft. I could look it up for you in 10 seconds, but I don't have.
So look it up for me.
There's also special forces in there. But first, I want to talk about Iran. So actually, we'll get back to Yemen. I want you to tell me why the Iran nuclear deal was a bad thing and Trump is the greatest for getting rid of it.
It was a bad thing because we don't need to be providing Iran with the ability to obtain nuclear weapons.
It didn't. It prohibited it. How did it give them nuclear weapons? What was the deal in your eyes? What did it do?
What stops a country from having nuclear weapons?
We provided relief to their economy so that they. Okay, so the Iran nuclear deal. Let me read you something I wrote myself on rightwingism.com. The deal's framework restricted Iran from possessing reactor-grade uranium leveling above 3.67%. To acquire a nuclear weapon, you need enriched U-235 uranium above 90%. By Trump tearing up that deal, they are now.
So if I was unable to produce nuclear weapons, how would I obtain them if I didn't produce them?
How do you obtain nuclear weapons? You go to somebody who does. Hence why Saudi Arabia is going to China and they're building their refineries currently, and we're selling them the tech to do it.
Why would Iran not get their nuclear weapons from North Korea?
They are. They were before the deal was created, because we were isolating their economy and crippling it.
Well, if we could continue to cripple their economy, they wouldn't be able to afford them.
No, they're just turning to more radical options.
Well, the main reason that we're preventing them from getting the nuclear weapons is because Iran has made it very clear they have no issue with nuking Israel. Okay, we cannot allow that to happen as a ally of Israel.
Why is Israel our ally? What benefit?
Why is Israel our ally? Because they're the only real country that has America's best interest in mind in the Middle East.
It has nothing to do with billions of quarterly.
It has nothing to do with the what?
They're billions of dollars we fund them in quarterly. It has nothing to do with that. Who is Israel protecting us from? Should American policy be under attack? Who are they going to protect us from?
Israel provides a launching point. Hey, the live stream is about to get cut off by Instagram.
North Korea shot right now to California. You think Israel's going to have any say in that?
Hang on one second. We're going to come back. Instagram raids or something that I actually care or talk about, then we might have gotten somewhere. But you put all your eggs in this one basket, and I just walked by and I'm like, cool basket, and I kicked it over. I don't care about your basket. You put all your eggs in one basket that I don't even care about.
You don't care that we're at the greatest threat of nuclear war ever in history?
We're not.
By all measurements and statistics, we are. Or forecasts, I mean. It's true. Trump tore up the INF deal. What did he replace it with? Because I haven't heard anything. Yet we're both, us and Russia and China, are now creating new hypersonic weapons.
You know what? You're right. The world is going to end tomorrow. We need to all go into our underground bunkers and start eating canned food and recycling toilet paper.
No,
what are we ever going to do?
I don't like the format you're using. You're saying Russia's the enemy. Why?
Let me say something here. Many people that I know are very intelligent, none of whom feel the need to explain to everyone that they're intelligent. If you're intelligent, people will realize it. And if you're not, people will make fun of you for thinking that you are.
Oh, I hope so. I'm actually an idiot. I make this all up. This isn't all verifiable.
Nobody said you were an idiot, but you're certainly not humble.
I am. Oh. I don't know what to say to you, my man. I like how you don't think by all measurements and statistics we're near a conflict of any. You're saying Russia's the enemy, but you haven't told me why. Have they ever threatened to destroy us? As of the last 20 years since the Cold War has ended, have they threatened to destroy us by obliteration of nuclear weapons? No.
Has Russia ever threatened to destroy us?
Since the Cold War has ended.
Okay. There's your caveat. Since the Cold War has ended.
Yes, sir. They haven't. But how many states have we told we're going to obliterate them if they don't follow the American way? Because we did one just last week. Trump did it himself.
What state did we obliterate?
He said he's going to.
Where did he say he was going to obliterate?
Iran.
Well,
his own words, obliterate. That'll be the end of their existence.
They definitely shot down a drone that was in international airspace.
Really? Because only Iran and Russia have given out the flight path yet. We haven't given out any other report.
Oh, so we don't know where the drone was? Is that what you're saying?
We haven't given out the flight path, but multiple other actors have. That's a bit odd. If you think we'd want to prove that.
Well, yeah, we really want to declassify classified information. That's no biggie.
Flight of a drone that we would perhaps launch a war on, we were 10 minutes away from. I'd love to see that information before we lose some more people.
You do know that the reason that they didn't launch a counterattack is because Trump said he didn't think it was worth killing 150 people for a flying robot.
Absolutely. And then in return, he's sending 1,000 more troops. Here's the problem. He has surrounded himself with the greatest war hawks of the 21st century. Men who waged the Iraq War on fraudulent information that allowed ISIS to come to power, as well as al-Shabaab and al-Nusra.
So you don't believe that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq?
I'd love to see them. Any report you can find that says you did, I'd love to see them. We did.
So you don't think they were moved into Syria?
No, I'd love to see.
So then where did Syria get them?
Syria doesn't have nuclear weapons.
We didn't say nuclear weapons. We said weapons of mass destruction.
There was an OPCW. What do you classify as a weapon of mass
destruction? There were chemical weapons in Syria. There's no question about that.
Do you believe the Duma attack last March happened?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You don't know what the Duma attack is, yet you believe Syria attacked people, yet you can't even tell me the attack.
What do you mean I believe Syria to attack people? I don't believe Syria to attack people. I know Syria attacked people. But this is what I'm talking about. See, really? You're talking about all of these little things like they're very important, that everybody needs to be worried about it. If everyone needs to be worried about it, right? If everyone needs to be worried about it.
Yes, sir.
Why does this only seem to be concerning you?
It doesn't. You're just watching the wrong media. You're not surrounding yourself with alternative sources. You're in the MAGA-con zone. Tell me, when's the last time you watched a piece of international news? Not Fox, not CNN, something international-wise. What's going on in the world? You haven't.
Wait, did you say not Fox and not CNN?
Yes, no domestic news source. When did you learn what's going on out there?
So, you're not familiar with RT, are you?
I am, Russian television.
Yeah, so I watch Russian television pretty regularly.
I do, though. because they've never had a claim against them. They've never used anonymous sources for the entire basis of their story like CNN loves to do. And they've never been proven to use falsified
Whoa, 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 whoa. Why are you pretending that I would defend CNN?
I'm not. I used Fox as an example as well earlier.
Oh, and by the way, RT has used one of my videos
And
for a story.
lovely. I hope you got the
Royalties? From Russia? Yeah.
You realize there's RT America as well. It's not Russian state propaganda.
Well, this one was actually from South Africa.
That's lovely.
I made a video talking about how killing white people is wrong, and the Russian television put it on there.
Why do you like white people? White women have failed us, don't you think?
What?
I think we all just need to go for Latinas or Indian ladies. They're much better. White women have failed us about it. Like,
White
really.
women have failed us?
Yeah, us as men, Joel. I think we're
How have they failed us? See, every single time one of you crack jobs comes on here, you make some very good points, and then you go off on some nonsense. Like the last one, he was making valid points. They were wrong, but like I could like kind of understand him. Then he started hitting on me. And it was like, dude, you're being weird. And then now you were making some things that I didn't know about. I don't care, but they were some interesting points. And then you start talking about how white women have failed us.
That's my favorite. I'm going to get signed one day.
Bro, are you guys like not mentally stable?
I am. Well, never mind.
Do you have any friends?
I got a few. I mean,
Do you have a girlfriend?
Oh, yeah. She's Latina.
She like normal?
I'm going to end the white race myself, so she's Latina, actually.
Is she like normal?
I think so.
Are you normal?
I don't know, man.
If you have to ask yourself the question, you probably aren't.
I'll ask my mom later.
Do you live in the basement?
Absolutely. Both of them.
Both basements.
Yeah, there's two of them. But we don't talk about it.
You have two basements.
Yeah,
Do you have like a basement under your basement?
No, that's where the bunker.
Oh, for doomsday. Are you like a prepper? Do you like prep for doomsday?
You don't? So, you're not going to tell me when the bombs start flying and ICBMs are landing in my backyard, you're going to come up to my door and say, let me in. Brother, we got to get you ready, prepped, stocked. I need to get you like 20 TVs with international news on each one. You sit there with your eyes open, like in Clockwork Orange, and I need you to just stare and learn. You might get here. Brother, I want to explain something before I go, because I got to go. Iran is not the enemy. They're one of the sole democracies in the Middle East. They elect their president, they elect their parliament. 70% of leading sciences are led by Iranian women in that region. They have the second biggest population of the Jews and Christians who live side by side. I can give you my colleagues' contacts or my friends. I'm going to visit.
So first of all, I'm going to stop you right there. Because up until now, I was completely ignorant of everything you were saying. But when you just said the Jews and Christians lived side by side, that's where I'm going to stop you, okay? There is no country outside, inside of the Middle East, outside of Israel, where Jews and Christians live side by side in peace.
You want Christmas photos from Iran this year?
There's this magazine. It's called Voice of the Martyrs. You can look at every country that murders Christians at a high rate, and Iran is in there every single issue.
When's the last time Iran murdered a Christian or a Shia Muslim or a Sunni Muslim?
Oh my gosh!
Arabia killed.
I don't know, probably yesterday.
No, Saudi Arabia crucified and tortured 17 Christians and Shia Muslims the other day.
And I have no love for Saudi Arabia.
Trump does. He sold his soul to them, $130 billion weapons deal in order to, and there's a genocide on the other end of that deal.
He sold his soul to them.
Yeah, Congress wanted to get rid of that deal, and he vetoed it.
America sells weapons to a lot of different countries.
Absolutely.
We don't agree with the political ideology of every country we sell weapons to. Do you know the most sold fighter in the world? Do you know what it is? The F-16. Do you know where the F-16 is manufactured?
China.
America.
Oh, that's rough. Let me tell you something. When's the last time Iran launched a war or threatened to? When's the last time they used an intelligence service to disable a neighboring or international government?
They attempt to hack our government on the regular.
Source?
There was a series of cyber attacks just reported recently coming from Iran.
What's that? What source was that? I'd love to look into it.
Please do. And when you do, don't tell me about it because I don't care.
Really?
This is how many cares I give about Iran right now.
Hold up.
Everyone's apparently telling me you're trolling and that I should kick you
trolling.
off.
I'm not.
I will actually oblige. The people rule.
Trump 2020, brother. I'm loving it.
If I should kick this guy off because he's boring,
Boring. I want to talk to you about
comment, kick him off.
Oh, God.
Cargo McLovin, I think you live near me, bro. And you never had any credibility to begin with because you don't have a profile picture. So, click out of here.
Hold up. Wait. So where's the weapons of mass destruction, by the way?
Go look it up. Go look it up.
But there's no source on the internet that will tell you we found.
All right, I've got 3 kick him offs, 4 kick him offs,
Ah, this is the end of my career. Joel, I'm going to have to delete
5 kick him offs. When we get to 10, you're gone.
All right. Guess my page is done. I got to go spread information.
6,
Ah,
7, 8.
hold on.
Keep him.
That guy said no.
9.
That guy says you're gay. Oh, hi, Vic. I love you. Bro.
Bro, I don't know if you realize how live streams work, but your followers are on here too, genius.
No, I've never been on a live stream, actually. You had the honor.
10.
I don't even know what that was about. So everybody's just like, you must know everything. Let me see if I can figure out something you don't know. I'm just kind of funny. I just think it's kind of funny that it was like, he like waited his whole life and had like a script that he was going to read off of for why I needed to think the Iran deal was, and I don't even care about that. It's like, what? Libertarian unity. I bet he's one of those whack jobs too. Bro, if I hit another whack job, I'm gonna
Whack job, okay? I want to pick a normal person.
Not normal, but hey, Joel.
Hey, if you're another one of these whack jobs from the white
Oh no, I'm not.
wingism universe,
No, I'm not even right wing. Okay.
why is your thing black?
My thing black. Oh, I haven't done a face reveal yet. I'll do it eventually once I hit 2K. I'm close. I'm at 1800.
Well, we have one rule here, and only one rule: you have to show your face.
But
You
why
don't
is
show
yours
your
black
face,
though?
we have to kick you off. My
Why is
screen
your
is
black?
not black. My face is.
Yeah, you should stop ignoring everyone's questions whenever they ask you them and answer them properly instead of
That's
just going on
kinda
another
low-key
straw man and a whole
racist.
nother topic.
That was low-key racist. Should I kick him off for racism? I think I should.
I
Racism.
mean, I don't know, Joel. Your whole page is white people. Your whole page. It's okay to be white. Stop being racist towards white people. White people are not oppressed in our society. Blacks, gays, lesbians are societally oppressed. Talk about them for once, please. Because you only focus on white people on your page. That's about it. That's all I've seen. You're like Candace Owens' son. You say you hate identity politics, yet you use it all the time. You're a black conservative redneck, and that's why the left hates you. She's a black conservative, and that's why the left hates her. You use identity politics all the time. Speechless? Come on, Joel. I didn't even speak that fast. I'm not mouthy. I'm not trying to say anything hyper intelligent. I'm not a commie either, so you know. Joel, did your Android freeze? What happened? Did you forget to pay the electric bill? Did your Wi-Fi shut off? Joel, where'd you go? You're like my idol, dude. Don't leave me. Come on. I got into politics because of you, man. You got me here. I was a conservative too, but then I saw that conservatives, they don't conserve anything, so stepped away from that. But like, come on. Oh damn, Joel. Also, what's up with your followers? Anyone that comes on here is just, this guy is a liberal, he's retarded and all that. I don't understand that. Ryan Foreigner, who's that guy? And why does he have a check mark? Okay. Joel, come on. I know you were silent whenever Mouthy and Gio were debating you, but you don't have to be silent now. Oh. Guys, what will I do? Oh, fuck. Jesus. Joel, please respond. You're my everything. Imagine not being off, right? You have the picture of the black hole as your profile picture. Don't even thought. So, Joel, how's your day been? You talked about white people today, or no? Do you have like a daily thing where it's like, this segment is white people, pray to them. This segment is just live my life how I'm supposed to. But you know, it's like 98% white people, right? You know, Joel, come on. I said like 3 words and you're speechless. I don't understand. It's kind of sad. Damn. So you want to debate anything? You want to do anything? I'm here. Oh well, that's nice talking to you. I'm gonna go. This is kind of boring, you know. I'll get another cool guy onto my stream. Okay. All right. Bye.
That was so great. I literally said nothing. He drove himself crazy not getting a response from me. So it was clear to me that he didn't understand. I said that there was one rule. There was one rule. There was one rule he had to follow in order to have a debate. What was the rule? He had to show his face, and he didn't. So he thought he could just come on there and still talk without showing his face. And I didn't respond. And it drove him bananas. And it was it was entertaining because it was just like he literally went crazy waiting for me to respond. I'm sorry if I bored you to death with that, but that I think it was funny.
Hi, buddy.
Oh, goodness. Not you again. How did you get in here?
You accepted it.
I know.
Let's take a break from that. Holy crap.
It was like, it wasn't just like one. It was like 3 in a row.
3 in a row. After like 10 seconds of the first one, I had a migraine and I was like, I can't.
The other thing is, like, they were all convinced that they won. They were like, we beat you, we beat you. And I was like, one guy, I was like, what are you even arguing? You're saying that communism never been tried. The next guy, it was just all over the place. And then the last guy was like, what do you think of Iran? And I'm like, I don't really care. And he's like, but Trump. And I'm like, I said I didn't really care like
The fact
20
that he was
minutes
like, Trump was 10 minutes late for the Iran war. Like, Trump was not late for crap. I loved it. I loved every second. We need to, like, breathe for a minute. Oh, my word. Get some peace back in this life.
Just like a normal person to just like